already been shown by the performance of the Goldie crew, who went off very well, established an early lead. And the two crews, you can see they're just the far side of Hammersmith Bridge, right on the apex of the bend, turning round in front of St Paul's School, which is roughly where 2 is there on that map. And then there's a fairly straight part by Chiswick. And you can see the advantage that Goldie have gained. Very reminiscent of last year's 2 races when Goldie and then the Cambridge Blue Boat went away at the start and just kept going away. And the style, Chris Bellew of the Cambridge crew, very much the Harry Mahon, John Wilson, Sean Bowden style.
Absolutely, and this shows really the strength of the Cambridge system at the moment. They're able to produce 2 crews of considerable ability. This crew, the Goldie crew, have been shadowing their counterparts in the Blue Boat. They've done all the same training, and they're a very, very useful second crew.
It's not always a good guide, but I think, Dan Topolsky, you think it might be this time.
Well, I mean, they've taken a huge lead. This is really an enormous lead in the first 7, 8 minutes of the race. They came through some very rough water early on. Goldie were about a length up after 1.5 minutes, and they've just increased on that, and this is now a very, very big distance.
So looking at this race gives an opportunity to take you through the course. There is Chiswick 8. And now we look at it on the left of the picture as we go to one of our cameras further down the course. So the Surrey Bend is now on the right as we look, and the Middlesex station on the left, but that has long since become totally irrelevant in this race, because Goldie, who have won the last 4 and indeed 6 of the last 7 contests against Isis, are certain to add to that. The 29th race, the contest began in 1965.
I think this is a good opportunity too to pay tribute to Dirk Bangert, the German who's rowing in the Goldie this year, having spent 2 years in the Cambridge Blue Boat, narrowly missed out on selection this year, but has carried on rowing in the second crew and really is leading them from the middle.
So that's where they are. That's one of the timings you're going to get at Chiswick Steps, one of the 2 new records set by the Cambridge Blue Boat last year. And the time for Goldie ticks on into the 12th minute. Lovely conditions. The water, I think, a little lumpy on the way up to Hammersmith Bridge. I think that's the right word there.
Very lumpy. It's very rough here. You've got wind against stream. Very lumpy up as far as Hammersmith, and then a very nice run from there on, and they're now in very nice water coming round to the crossing just above Chiswick 8. But
well, I know that Donald Leggett, one of the coaches of Goldie, and has been for many years one of the real characters of this race, former Blue, of course. He wasn't too sure when Richard Muirhead won the toss, Chris.
No, Donald is anything but polite about his crew members. Certainly, he wondered if it was a good sign for Richard Muirhead to have won. But they've certainly delivered everything that was expected of them today. And they're rowing in good water now as they come round through the crossing where these boats are moored and back towards, as we'll see shortly, towards Barnes Bridge.
The 2 blue boats are down below Putney Bridge at the moment, as the junior boats, if that's the fair expression, have their contest, which frankly has not really been one. It's been a creaming performance by the crew from Goldie. Dirk Bangert, who was referred to by Chris a few moments ago, rowing at 5. The crew stroked by Miles Barnett. I can refer again to Donald Leggett. He wasn't too happy with his rowing one day, and then told him so in no uncertain terms. They came out the next day and he said, "Ah, miles better." So he's been known as Miles Barnett ever since.
Well, you can see how well they're rowing here, this Goldie crew. They really are a very classy crew for a reserve boat. They would give most of the other crews in Britain a real run for their money. But all of them around for next year, and they will make sure that Cambridge are very strong in depth for the next 2 or 3 years.
Certainly it's always the Cambridge policy to try and put people in who will be available for the following year. It's the grooming point for the youngsters. But in reality, only 1 or 2 in a usual year will make it through into the blue boat. So hard is the competition.
Actually, that number includes Dirk Bangert, who's an elected scholar at St John's and says he may well have a go next year. Just behind him there, Richard Muirhead. And in front of him in the 6th seat, Gordon Dunfield, Prayero. And the verdict, I would think, is going to be easily at the end, isn't it?
It's 7-8 lengths. Where is Isis? That's a huge distance in the boat race. That really is a very big distance, and it doesn't bode well for the main race in 15 minutes.
No, I think in the case of Goldie, they're really keeping the pressure on, looking at their rate of striking, the number of strokes a minute. They're at 34, 35, which means that they're really pushing on. They're obviously determined to get the biggest possible distance they can. And they're making the best of the flat water that they've got at this point. And round through Barnes Bridge, the weather could get a little bit rougher, I think.
Isis, of course, have had troubles because Oxford lost one of their key men last week, and Isis obviously lost one of their men who went up to join the first boat. So they've had to bring somebody into the boat. It's weakened them quite considerably, but this is a very, very good victory coming up for Goldie.
Actually, the man they lost, as we're looking now, camera moving in under Barnes Bridge, the crew's about to come in exactly the opposite direction through the central arch. The man that Oxford lost was in fact their stroke, Duncan Clegg. So he moved up. He was at one stage the stroke of the Isis boat. Adam Pearson, the man he's now replaced in the blue boat.
Yes, Cambridge have been very fortunate this year in that they've had able replacements in the Goldie boat. It was extremely hard fought, the contest to get into the Cambridge first boat. And several people in this boat were in contention right to the very last moment.
Lars Mellemseter, the bowman, and then John Carver, Richard Muirhead, Rolf Swinton, Canadian, who's one who probably won't be available next year. Muirhead, Bangert, Dunfield, Prayero, Sebastian Dawson-Bowling from King's School Canterbury and Magdalen, Miles Barnett, and the Cox Mark Sorrell for the 2nd year running. Been some good stories about the Coxes this year. He was close at one stage to getting into the blue boat.
Again, Cambridge had a plethora of talent, really. They had more Coxes than they can ever normally expect to have. They had 3 excellent Coxes, even 4 excellent Coxes, actually, with respect. Barry may be able to fill us in a bit more on that. And normally they're very lucky to have even 1. They were looking at Isis, struggling somewhat. None of the cohesion which Goldie were able to show.
Yeah, it's not an easy job for Jeremiah McLanahan, the stroke for Isis, who's found right from the start, as indeed has Greg Whiting, the Cox, that the Cambridge boat, the Goldie boat, has just been going smoothly away. Lovely afternoon row on this part of the course, a very flat River Thames.
Yes, they're just picking up a little bit more wind now. You can see it eddying across the river there, but it looks a lot calmer up towards Chiswick than it is here, even though that part of the course is at much the same angles at Putney, but they don't seem to be having any trouble at all. Nice clean bay work, hardly a splash. That's one of the hallmarks of the Cambridge rowing, and I think we'll see more of it in the main race to follow.
That's a curiosity about this course, is that it can be very, very rough in one part of the course, and you come round a corner and it flattens out considerably. That's what makes the boat race so unique. And here, where we are sitting now, it's still very rough and very gusty down here at the start of the race. Up here at the finish, they're rowing in very nice water. But Cambridge, the Goldie crew coming through now, looking extremely long, very good. And a good time considering the difficult headwind that they had before. 1748, coming up very, very well indeed. And you can see powerful, strong, long strokes and a very impressive Goldie crew.
Coming up to the stone. And the finishing mark of the boat race course, 4 miles, 374 yards. And getting good applause from an excellent gathering on either side of Old Father Thames this afternoon. Well, they, to coin a phrase, have set the standard for their light blue boat to follow. There, they cross the finishing line, 18:27, unofficially delight, and plenty of energy left to applaud. Richard Muirhead, delighted again. Been in the boat 12 months ago. Had hoped, of course, to make the blue boat. And now Isis coming in. Justin Hodges trying to lead them to finish in good style. But they have been comprehensively beaten.
Well, that's a very, very sad performance for Oxford's second boat, for Isis. A good 9 or 10 lengths there.
I think it was nearly 40 seconds. It was, you know, it was certainly more than that. That would make it nearer 13 lengths. It's a very, very long way, but provisionally, I think we can certainly say it was a very comfortable victory.
I knew you would mention 13 lengths at some stage, because the last time the Cambridge Blue Boat managed to win 2 races in succession, they won by 13 lengths, and you would know all about that. Disappointed Isis crew. Can the Oxford crew make up for that?